Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday night update. It is the Earthmaster here on this end, April 4th, 2024, about 10:12 p.m. here in the West Coast time zone. Latest activity looks like a 1.7 earthquake into the Alaska area. Also seeing some movement right now in Taiwan as well, with some aftershock activity occurring in that region. That earthquake showing up here across a couple different stations there, it looks like. All right, so California shaking out here quite a bit earlier this evening. Had a pair of 4.0 earthquakes. Looks like this has been settled as far as the magnitudes go and the number of quakes. Originally, I was uncertain on if this is just going to be two earthquakes or not, but it does look like there was two earthquakes literally within seconds of each other. A 4.2 first, and then a 4.8. These were adjusted accordingly. They go up and down in terms of the magnitude. Once a geologist, seismologist looks at it, then things start to settle in terms of the correct magnitude and location. So these are not surface quakes. Remember, one of these quakes here had a negative 1.1 depth on it, but it looks like these are about 7 to 5 kilometers below the surface here for these earthquakes. And again, there was two of them, the largest one being a 4.8, and no doubt this earthquake was felt all over the place. I appreciate the reports there coming in on the video, and a lot of people felt some decent shaking, and probably a little bit longer than other quakes that they may have felt, and that is due to there being two earthquakes. May have seemed like it was a longer quake, more of a longer duration quake than normal. Sacramento, Elk Grove, if we click on here, a lot of folks up there around Reno, Nevada. I didn't feel it. I'm outside of Chico here. Of course, at the time, things were a little hectic here in my house. We're dealing with some crazy kids. But so I probably would have, had I been in a relaxed state on the couch, something like that. But I was running around here in the house with the kids, so I didn't feel it. But quite a few folks there in Chico, Red Bluff, up in Redding felt it as well. It is a distance away from Mount Lassen. I know a lot of people chiming in saying, well, it looks like Mount Lassen is waking up. Well, this is not associated anywhere near Mount Lassen, which sits up here, a good, I don't know how many miles, maybe 30 miles or so, maybe more. To the north is where Mount Lassen is. This activity is stress-related, fault-related up here. There's quite a few faults here in the Sierra Nevada mountains that's not associated with the Mount Lassen volcano there. That remains quiet. But as far as the closest fault system goes, there's a little small, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a couple little small fractures up here on the west side of the Lake Almanor area. Last year we had quite a bit of earthquake activity up here underneath the lake in a newly discovered fault. But this year, definitely stress-related, fault-related here across the Sierra Nevada mountains. They haven't really put out any type of statement on it. So maybe, hopefully we'll have one tomorrow after someone reviews this. But it was a pretty decent earthquake. Here's the shake ring, so to speak. And again, I should have felt it down here in Chico. I probably did, but I was just a little bit too busy at the time. Quite a few folks reported feeling this. Let's look at the did you feel it responses. And now that's a little odd. It's only showing one responses here for the for that. And I'm not for sure why, but yeah, there you go. You can see the shake map on that one. And that is for the 4.8. Now, if we check the 4.2 here, they were basically back-to-back. It shows a little less reporting on this. But still, it was felt, obviously all over the place, it looks like here across Northern California. We're seeing a little bit of aftershock activity. The latest one, a 2.9. And again, not associated with any volcanoes out here. The depths here of these earthquakes have been adjusted to about 5 to 7 kilometers deep. Looking at the rest of Northern California, it looks pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on. Aside from this activity down here across the Clear Lake volcanic field, this is hydrothermal operations that takes place here. There's quite a few facilities in operation out here. Just a real quick glance here at the satellite view. I'll show you guys what I mean. I was down here a couple years ago investigating the activity. There's one of the power plants out there. They create energy. There's another one right here, and there's a whole process involved behind that. Check out the Calpine Hydrothermal Operations, I believe, is the name, unless they've changed their name here recently. But yeah, they take advantage of the heated areas below to create energy. One little lonesome earthquake here across the southern end of the Gorda Plate. That was from earlier this morning. Southern California, for the most part, pretty quiet. Not seeing anything major going on down there. A look at the tremor map here for the Cascadia subduction zone. Let's pull this up here, see what we got. About 70 epicenters here. A little bit down into the Northern California area and Southern Oregon here. But still pretty quiet in terms of the multitude of tremors that have been pretty much on a common occurrence out here. Regular intervals going on until about the end of 2022. We started to notice a lack of tremor, a decline in tremor out here. So kind of interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think it's associated. It's possible. You never know. There's definitely a lot of stress out here across the southern end of the Cascadia. A little uncertain, though, on if this tremor activity is related to the activity there across the Northern California area where we've seen that earthquake activity today. What's that little town? Belden, that's right. Been up there a handful of times. Just couldn't remember the name. So, let's see what else we got out here across the region. A little earthquake up into the Strait of the Juan de Fuca area. 28 kilometers deep here for that 2.0. Down there into the subduction zone, it looks like, of the Cascadia. The rest of the country out here fairly quiet. We'll get to the cloud cover percentage here for the eclipse that's taking place Monday towards the end of this video. 2.1 out into the North Carolina area early this morning. It looks like after midnight my time. One area I have seen elevated activity today is the Atlantic Ocean. Quite a bit of activity stirring up out here across these divergent boundaries. Separation of the seafloor out here. Quite a bit of fractures going on, creating some new oceanic crust over time, of course, but it's been pretty active. We got, looks like about 4 earthquakes. Well, take that back. There's more hidden underneath this one. We got 5 earthquakes here alone within a very short amount of time period here. 5 fives. That's a little odd. Something definitely taking place out here in the Atlantic on a broad scale. As you can see up and down the region here, we'll have to watch Iceland, see if things don't really start kicking up out here. Currently, let's go check out the Iceland activity real quick and see what we have. There's at least one active vent there. That looks like the main one, the largest one. Let's see if this webcam is working. That's, again, the same. Here's a different view of... There's one here, and I think there's another one. Either way, still seeing the eruption continue there across the Iceland area. We really haven't seen any major earthquake activity. Here's a look at the last 12 hours. Really don't see anything of abnormal activity, but the eruption continues there across the area northeast of Grindavik. But definitely a lot of activity stirring up out here south of the region into the Atlantic Ocean. Some movement out here across the Puerto Rico Trench at 3.7. That from earlier this afternoon, it looks like, right smack dab on the Puerto Rico Trench there. 63 kilometers deep. Little quake here off the coast of El Salvador from this morning, a 5.1. Let's take a look here at the earthquake 3D globe, see what else we got. Definitely seeing some aftershock activity there across the Taiwan area. Quite a few 4s, quite a few 5s. Let's zoom into this area and see what we got here for a total tally of earthquakes in the last 7 days. Of course, they did see a pretty decent size earthquake here, 7.4. It looks like the largest aftershock here so far has been a 6.0 4 moments after the main quake. Aside from that, most of the earthquakes out here have been in the 5 and the 4 range, and I'm sure some smaller quake activity out here as well in the 3, 2, and 1 range, but definitely not showing it out here. So expect that to continue. We did have one little earthquake out here. This was a couple days ago, but I'm really not seeing any migration of the earthquake activity that would lead me to believe that there's something else going on as far as bigger potential. It looks, very typical for a 7.4 earthquake to see that many aftershocks. Up here in Japan, a 5-pointer coming in as well this afternoon. Looks like 63 kilometers deep for that quake. Down across the area of New Zealand, looks like this area has gone awfully quiet. Not a whole lot going on out here right now. A little odd. Let me double check the GeoNet servers, make sure that everything is being reported here. Yesterday, there's that 3.2. We're going to go check out the all magnitudes here and see what's going on. A little 2.8 down off the Milford Sound area of South Island. A little 1.7. Couple ones out here. There's another 2.4. Doesn't look like anything big is going on. A 2.7 there. Fairly deep, 187 kilometers. Let's give a quick glance here at the earthquake drums. See what's going on. Looks like a little newer activity there around, looks like South Island area here. Aside from that, really doesn't look super busy out here across the New Zealand area, but still keep an eye on that region. It has been seeing quite a bit of deep activity here recently. When these 4-pointers came in, 4.8 and the other smaller quake, 4.2, we actually seen them show up here across the Mount St. Helens seismograph station and also Yellowstone. So I'm kind of curious to see if we'll spot them on the graphs here. We should. Looks like that's going to be the quake right here. That did show up on a couple other seismograph stations there. And remember, these earthquakes, they can be picked up on this very sensitive equipment thousands of miles away, in this case hundreds of miles away. But when we get these big earthquakes in Japan, Taiwan, they are easily picked up here on the seismograph stations, pretty much wherever you're at here on the globe or on the earth, because of just the very extreme sensitivity of the seismograph station. But as far as local activity goes, there's not a whole lot. I discussed this earlier in the update this morning. This is all wind events. Shows up here, seems like in the afternoon, dies down throughout the evening, and then it picks back up again the next day. So no magma movement, no doom and gloom in the Yellowstone department tonight. There's a latest earthquake there. It looks like a 5.1 coming into the Taiwan area. Let's see what else we got here across the Mediterranean region. Very small earthquake activity out there. Not a whole lot going on. But the Atlantic, something is definitely stirring up out here. There's a super deep 4.7 here. You guys see that deep earthquake there? It looks like just off the coast of the South America region. Not seeing it here on the USGS map. Let's take a look at that. That's kind of an odd area to see super deep earthquake activity. Going to be this one right here, it looks like. 4.7, well underneath the Brazil area. 360 kilometers deep. Most of this being reported by the Germany folks there, the GFC, that monitors earthquake activity globally. But USGS not picking up on it. So we'll see if they add it maybe tomorrow. But that's a very unusual area to see earthquake activity. Let's key up the historical map here and show you guys. Obviously, across the subduction zone of the Peru-Chile Trench, the deeper activity in this region is going to be more inland on the map. These dark circles there indicating deeper quakes below 300 kilometers. And, of course, we get the big ones upstream. But specifically over in this area, you know, it's odd to see deep earthquake activity or any earthquake activity in general across this region. But it may have something to do with what's going on out here underneath this area Definitely looks like some broad activity taking place here across the Atlantic Ocean. Definitely keep an eye on it. Into the Alaska area, handful of quakes out here around the Fox Islands area. Looks like the latest of 3.4 in that area, but nothing big going on. Hawaii, handful of quakes, a little bit up here across the Kilauea volcano as well. A couple ones, so let's go check out, see what's going on there across the big island of Hawaii in terms of volcanic activity. Still sitting at a yellow and advisory. They're doing a weekly update as far as the USGS goes, unless something changes. But last update was put out the 2nd, it looks like. Deformation data shows that things are really typical up there. Really not a whole lot going on in terms of anything major. The stair-stepping event going on right here across the summit area is very typical, similar to what we've seen here over the past few months. Just inflation going on there. We're still not at the level seen, though, prior to that large displacement of magma back in February, somewhere around there, back in early February. We were way up here. We lost all that magma. Raining pretty good outside. Now we're slowly coming back up. We've got a little ways to go, though, before we match that previous level. All right, let's see what else we got here for earthquake activity. There's definitely a whole lot going on here, folks. A lot going on out in the Atlantic. This is more active than normal and broader than normal, so keep an eye here on what's going on out here across the Atlantic Ocean. All right, space weather activity. See what's going on in the space weather world. We'll bring up solarham.net. I like this site. I kind of use any site there is at, I prefer to use this site. There's many other sites out there that can pick up on the space weather activity, but Kevin runs this page pretty decent. I like it. Looks like we're getting a little blackout right now from the sun being eclipsed from the spacecraft that monitors this data. So we'll have to check back on that in a second. You can see we're just losing the data here on that chart right about here. That happens every 24 hours there with the sun being eclipsed and the spacecraft losing the data. Looks like there's a little bit of sea flare activity coming in from one of these sunspots. I bet you more than likely it's probably going to be from this area right here, maybe this little region, but overall there's not a whole lot of complexity within those cores of the sunspots. If we look at the visible disk here, 3628 is about the only one of any type of potential for flaring. The overall threat right now, very low, super low. Look at that, 30% chance for a C flare, M flare at 5, X flare, and of course the proton event, way low. And look at the index here, 114. That is super low due to, well, there's not a whole lot of active sunspots there. Far as what's going on in the Aurora department, we did see a little bit of uptick here. That was forecasted for tonight. I don't think we made it into the G1 class category. Looks like maybe 3.5 on the KP index. Potential auroras up there across the higher latitudes, not a huge threat, but maybe a slight chance up there across the extreme higher areas up there around the pole. All right, far as what's going on here on the far side of the sun, well, this is the far side right here. There's 3615, a huge, ginormous sunspot that we had to deal with here, over the last couple weeks when it was over here. Seen numerous, I think we've seen like maybe 20 or 30 M flares from this sunspot. 3614 up here, that is these things actually come back around the bend a couple times. It's crazy. I can't remember the 3614's old number. I think it was like 3590 if I remember right. But we'll see if any of these sunspot regions come back around the bend to the eastern limb, which is right here, eastern limb. And it'll take them obviously a couple weeks here. But look at 3615. That is still staying very active out there. It's visually active, at least here on this model. We don't have a lot here right now, folks, that's coming around for now. So space weather will probably be quiet until we can get some further active regions out here facing the Earth. All right, weather. Right, the eclipse is getting super close. Tomorrow is the day I'm going to decide on whether I'm going out here or not to cover the eclipse. Figure Friday, that's close enough to Monday here that these weather models should be pretty accurate. Here is, double check, make sure I got the most recent one, which I do. Here is the dreaded GFS model, and I say dreaded because this still shows quite a bit of cloud cover out here across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas as well. And now that's just one weather model. That looks like, the worst case scenario. A lot of people have been looking at the Canadian model here, and this is the one that people are going off of here. Look how much clarity is out here on the Canadian model. Now the question is, who's right and who's wrong? Which model is more accurate? That's going to be a very good question. We'll show you the EMSC model here in just a little bit, or the we'll check that model out here in just a little bit. Hold on a second here. ECMWF, not the EMSC. I'm thinking earthquakes here. I can't check it on this site, but we will here on windy.com. So this model shows some clarity out here. Roughly maybe San Antonio northward out here through Arkansas into Illinois, Indiana, portions of Ohio as well. Now, if this plays out, that's going to make a lot of people happy. But the question is, how much cloud cover is going to be left around following the departure of this frontal boundary. Now, if we go check out the windy map here, I'm going to show you the ECMWF model. That's the European model for cloud cover out here. And this is currently right now, we got a decent storm out here across the west coast. Just kind of been pouring rain on us, and that's good. But we're going to look at Monday at about 11 a.m. West Coast time. This is going to be around the eclipse time, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time. Now here shows quite a bit of cloud cover, but still some pockets of potential areas that are going to make viewing the eclipse likely. These clouds up here, this grayer color that you're seeing is a low percentage of cloud cover, and most of those look like they are high cirrus clouds. Depending on how thick they are, you still might be able to see the eclipse from there. I don't know if it'd be a picture perfect photography moment, but it does look like there is some clarity going on there across this area in terms of maybe what to expect here Monday. The HRR model, that's the more accurate one. It doesn't look like it wants to I don't think it goes out that far. So right now we just got the GFS and the that's a cloud base. I need to go back over here. HRR model only goes to the 6th of April, which is on Saturday. And most of the time, that's the more accurate model in terms of even rainfall, cloud cover as well. But I think on Friday night, we should get a good glimpse of this and see what's going on here for that potential eclipse on Monday. Here's the GFS model once again showing quite a bit of blockage. It's one of those things, which one's going to be right, which one's going to be wrong. There's so many, reservations and whatnot booked out here across this totality line. And let's bring this back up here, right about here, which is right here. And it's, what do you do? Do you just wait and show up and see what's going on? Or do you make plans to drive somewhere else and see it? It's, definitely going to be potential for clouds out here. I wish I could say there's a dominant high pressure that's going to build in with clear skies across the entire area, but it's not looking like that. But there will be some certain areas out here that will be possibly open for viewing. And I think tomorrow will give us a good key indicator of where to look for. But that's the latest GFS model, showing, quite a bit of aggressive cloudiness out here. The numerical models in terms of rainfall and whatnot around that time frame going to be right about here. There's already a lot of moisture coming in here. We're supposed to have quite a bit of thunderstorms and whatnot here in Texas. So it's possible the cloud cover could already be in place out here. Let me see if I can bring up the precipitable water. This is a lot of the moisture up there in the air, in the atmosphere, and this is for that date, Monday, April 8th at 18Z, which is around the peak eclipse time, around totality. A lot of moisture coming in here to Texas, so I don't think Texas is going to be able to get a good view of this. If any areas, it may be further upstream here across Arkansas and maybe into Illinois and Indiana, but it's just it's going to be dependent on what goes on out here. There's going to be a lot of humidity coming into the area, a good south flow. Of course, you get a lot of moisture coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know if this one goes out that far. Yeah, it does. The composite reflectivity just showing potential storms there around that time. There's already like rainfall and stuff out there, so we'll check back on it, folks. That's all we can do right now, but I'll make a permanent decision tomorrow on whether I'm going out there to cover it or not. I don't want to drive 24 hours from California out to Texas or even further if it's just going to be cloud cover. It doesn't make sense. All right, what else we got? I think that's about it. A little spike of an earthquake there on Mount St. Helens. Aside from that, we'll just watch things here tonight, see how it plays out. We did have a little bit of activity out here south of the Gulf of Mexico here along the plate boundary prior to the Northern California activity today. So definitely some adjustment going on out here across the eastern boundary of the Pacific plate. New Zealand's gone awfully quiet, so we'll have to watch this area as well down south. I guess we'll just see what happens overnight. So stay safe out there, folks. 3.2 coming into the South America region right now, into the Chile area. Have a good night. We'll catch you guys back out here for the Friday morning update. That's right, I said Friday because tomorrow is Friday. Goodness. All right, made it to the weekend here. Have a good night. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning. Take care, folks.